Welcome to Monday's Hangxiety, your fantasy football therapy session. It's time for the bitching to commence. We're unpacking performances from your key players, rookies who have stepped up yet again and continue to make names for themselves, those unexpected performances, heartbreaks, high points. It's time to vent your frustrations. Oh, and by the way, week 14 is coming, and that means yet another by Mageddon. Grab your coffee, get something stronger if you need it, and let's get into Monday's Hangxiety. Good morning. Welcome back to Monday's Hangxiety. Week 13. I am Gator J. These are my two faithful and talented, very knowledgeable, well, at least one of them might be, Josh Hudson, Ryan Weisse, the co-host here. How are we doing, fellas? We'll start with you, Ryan, since you're the smartest man on the panel.
Week 13 went well. I knew week 14 was bad, Jay, based on some of the best ball teams I drafted in the offseason. I didn't realize 6 teams were on bye again. Like, I thought it was 4. So when you called it a bye Mageddon, I was like, yeah, mainly because, the Ravens and Commanders are out. But no, there are 6 teams that are out and everything is terrible.
See, I knew that, Jay. Maybe you should have put me as the smartest one on this panel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Throwing that out there.
And what's even funnier is I should have realized Denver was also – I knew Denver was out because I'm about to get kicked out of Scott Fishbowl because Bo Nix is out next week. So,
yeah, I Ryan, if you'd plan for the week 14 buys, you'd be doing better.
So listen to this. The fact that I'm alive in Scott Fishbowl and the fact that I might be top 10 after this week is a miracle because Josh knows this for a fact. I panic picked Dak Prescott in the first round when our draft did not go the way I thought it was going to go. And then my second quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. But Ryan was like, I think I need 4 quarterbacks on this build and took Sam Darnold and fucking Bo Nix. Thank God. And now I am cruising to where I believe I will be.
Well, you only have one of them next week. So
yeah, especially since pour one out for the deceased Trevor Lawrence.
That's such a bad hit. Well, if you would have, and you should have, paid attention to Stacey Perez and myself over this offseason as we were doing the best ball, we were giving you what the week 14 bye weeks were.
Oh, yeah.
And what is coming with week 15, 16, and 17 through your playoffs, which I know we'll talk a little bit about coming up today and, of course, then again next week.
Yeah.
But, Ryan, I can't believe that you went and did not look at week 14 and realize that you have nobody playing, because as we were chatting last night in our little group chat, I kind of mentioned, and maybe I should give Stacey a lot of credit here because
I thought I had Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence.
This is my time to shine, damn it.
Don't say I didn't realize I didn't have anyone to play. They're all hurt. All my quarterbacks are dead. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. But I just wanted to let you know that one of my best ball 5 teams is moving right along. Very nicely. I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know.
I hope I'm talking to a millionaire in 2 weeks.
Oh, no, you won't be talking to me.
Oh, Gator J signing out.
I'm not even gonna do that. I might just send you an email, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get into it. Josh, that is enough talking smack, whatever. Let's talk about trophy smack.
Absolutely. Our sister site, Women of Fantasy Football, has a great partnership with Trophy Smack. Head over to trophysmack.com/WOFF. That's WOFF. We're coming up on the final weeks of the fantasy football season. Get ready for those championships. We have championship belts, championship rings, trophies, wall smack to decorate your office, your hallways, your kids' rooms, you name it. Trophy Smack has got all of your achievement-based needs. TrophySmack.com/WOFF. That's WOFF. Any and all commissions we make from this partnership They're going to help us in our continued efforts to support women in sports. We've been blessed to be able to send women to a lot of NFL media credentialed events, i.e. the Super Bowl, the NFL draft, the combine. We want to be able to provide these women more than just passes. So use this link, help us out, help us help women out. This is what it's all about. TrophySmack.com/WOFF, WOFF.
Great partnership. Love their stuff. Just pulled it up. The wall smack is phenomenal.
Championship belts.
You see Ryan's belt right behind him. Josh has got a belt himself, custom made. So awesome stuff. And it is Christmas time, so you can always buy for Christmas as well. There are some loser trophies on there that are really cool as well. We do see everybody in the chat. We'll get through a couple quick news and notes as well as these scores from yesterday before we get to you guys, but we do see you in the chat. So keep putting your comments in there, questions, vents your frustrations, whatever it may be. Ryan, give us our weekly refresher.
Well, we have to go all the way back to Thursday for a quarter of the games because we had 3 games Thursday, game on Friday, and then everything kicks back up on Sunday. But Lions outlast the Bears after what looked like was going to be a blowout in the first half. Caleb Williams, one of his worst first halves ever, into his best second half ever. And then, of course, that's going to lead to the future news, the timeout debacle at the end of that game. 23-20, Lions take that one. More on that one in a second. Cowboys handle business at home against a pitiful Giants team, 27-20. And then we told you to stay away from the Dolphins in the cold. The Packers took care of business, 30-17. Chiefs outlast the Raiders on Black Friday. That was an ugly game and not what people expected. We expected a Chiefs blowout. Instead, we got 19-17 and really just not a lot of great offense unless you like tight end play. More on that later. Texans 23, Jaguars 20. Mac Jones had to finish that game due to Azeez Al-Shahir, I think it was, getting a little dirty in that one. Not my favorite moment from the week. Another close game, Colts 25, Patriots 24. Anthony Richardson leads a game-winning drive, and it's some of the best play he's made, but he still cannot make a throw to end the game. I'm just going to throw that out there. Chargers 17, Falcons 13. This was not the high-scoring affair that everyone thought it was going to be. Seahawks come to the Jets, 26-21. Aaron Rodgers still not looking very great there, and I have some bones I want to pick with Aaron Rodgers, but Commanders destroy the Titans 42-19. Bengals still have absolutely no defense. 44-38. They kind of worked their way back in this one. It wasn't as close as it sounded, but the Steelers scored 44 on the Bengals, which I think is their third consecutive game of allowing 30 or more points. It's all ugly. Vikings with a comeback. Aaron Jones redemption for the second week in a row, 23-22 over the Cardinals. I had a friend at that game and said it was the most electric environment he's ever been in, and it wasn't even a playoff game. Rams 21, Saints 14. Pour one out for Taysom Hill. Season's over. We didn't get to enjoy much more of that electric game he had 2 weeks ago. 21-14 for that one for the Rams. Buccaneers survive the Carolina Panthers 26-23, and the Eagles 24, Ravens 19. Big win for Josh's Eagles. And then it was an ugly weather game and an ugly San Francisco 49ers game. Buffalo Bills take down the 49ers 35-10. Christian McCaffrey looking like his season is over. Browns travel to the Broncos tonight to end week 13. Should be a good one, but those are your scores.
Josh, first of all, can the Jets find any other ways to lose a ball game? You're up big. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's reborn in the first quarter.
Yep.
Seattle is giving you the ball. Every time they touch it, they fumble it.
Yep.
And then you lose. Like why? What?
I mean, I'm sure they can find new ways to lose. Let's be honest.
What bothers me, and this has bothered me about Aaron Rodgers for a long time, but they kind of highlighted it on the TV. Did you guys see where Davante Adams was supposed to run that kind of like in and out and wasn't where he wanted Rodgers wanted him to be? Rodgers throws a hospital ball. Adams gets his hands on it, doesn't catch it. Nobody gets hurt. But then the look of incredulousness on Rodgers' face, like Davante Adams is the biggest piece of shit on this planet. Like he fucked that. I'm like, bro, you threw the worst ball possible there. And it's always somebody else's fucking fault. And I know after the game, he's like, there's 11 of us out there. Sometimes it's my fault. Bitch, it's always your fault. You ruined.
I I still love the
He's
fact
not
that he
very
was the lead blocker for Malachi Corley on that end around there. But whatever. Next question is Joe Burrow just going to be what Dan Marino was?
He better learn to play fucking corner.
I mean, as good as his stats are, I mean, he's looking like a Dan Marino from the 80s. Like he's going to have all the stats of the world and nothing.
The thing with Marino, though, was it wasn't about the defense. He never had a running game.
You didn't need a running game when you had Mark Duper, Mark Clayton.
Well, but that's my point. But they played good defense. They were consistently winning the AFC East. Like it was them, it was the Jets. Like it was always a back and forth. Same thing like Buffalo with their, four championships, AFC championships, etc. Marino, they always played decent defense. It was just they never had a running game ever. Like they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for a little bit towards the tail end of his career. I believe they had Lamar Miller was in there, or not Lamar Miller, Lamar Smith. Like, but it took them forever to find a running game, and they just completely bypassed it. You're talking
mid 90s, early 90s.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the mid to late 80s, when he was really at his peak, there was no running game to speak of.
Let's get into some news real quick. Bears 4-8 fire Matt Eberflus. Thomas Brown, who was the interim OC, is now the interim HC, so head coach now. First
3-week glow up, let me tell you. This man started as a pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator to interim head coach. Like, what?
First time in the Bears history that they have fired a head coach in season over like 105 years or whatever it's been. That's phenomenal. Just a quick question on this for you guys. Best fit right now for the Bears when it comes to fantasy?
Oh, it's Ben Johnson. I mean, that's the answer for everybody.
You think?
Yeah, he has the offensive pieces.
Yeah, he knows the division. He can run an offense. It's got to be.
You don't think that what's his name from the Commanders?
Cliff Kingsbury? Or are you
Kingsbury?
high?
Yeah. I mean,
are you
Adam?
High?
Listen,
We've seen how this goes. It's called the Arizona Cardinals. It doesn't work.
I was gonna say so. I don't know who deserves the credit for Washington, but I was marveling at the fact that these guys were the second worst team in football. And now they are, I think they won this week. I just said the scores. I don't remember, but regardless, they're an 8 or 9 win team.
They beat the Titans this week, right?
Yeah, that's right. They destroyed them. So they're like a 9-win team. The turnaround there is nice. Obviously, Dan Quinn has taken this defense that doesn't have a lot of talent. They cut Jamin Davis, who was their like first round linebacker pick from 2 years ago. They've played well enough. It was a big turnaround for the defense. The offense is playing great, and give a lot of credit to Jaden Daniels, but maybe Kingsbury deserves a little bit more credit.
No, he doesn't. He could barely scheme Terry McLaurin to get open.
Maybe it's a Terry McLaurin.
He's literally wasting Terry McLaurin more often than not.
I mean, Terry McLaurin was wasting before he got there.
I was just going to say.
That's my point.
But I'm just trying to say, like, we've been shitting on Terry McLaurin mainly because everybody else is too high on him for years. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury just knows what we all have been choosing to ignore in fantasy, and that's it. Terry McLaurin's a wide receiver 4.
Let's talk about the play.
I'm joking.
Let's talk about the play of the week. Josh Allen, first quarterback to have a passing, receiving, and rushing touchdown all in the same game. I mean, people are going crazy over this. Sleeper come out this morning, put their notes on it on why. MLF has come out and said why. This is an NFL stat. The way the NFL scores it is how fantasy football is going to score it. And it's simple. It's that simple.
Yeah. Jay, you're stealing my bit. This was part of my next segment.
Up in news and notes. You should have known. You should have known.
I actually, was it in news and notes the whole morning? Yeah. I did not notice it at all.
It was
my bad.
It was there. All right. So that's enough of that.
I was only going to talk about it briefly anyways.
Yeah. Props to Josh Allen for setting the standard of how you should be a quarterback and all. Let's get over to some of these chat questions real quick. We'll start off with Caesar here. I had to start Caleb Dowdle, B-Rob instead of Baker, Chuba, Waddle. I would have still lost by 50 plus.
Yeah.
Love it when it doesn't make.
I like that too. Like when there's nothing worse than when you leave a team on your bench and could have won. And right now that hurts bad. Like I play in a league where defensive scoring is crazy. The Jets defense scored 42 points this week. I started the Buccaneers and only got like 16 points. I'm fighting for a playoff spot by points. So this could literally cost me my playoff spot. So I'm going to win, but I still may not score enough points to claim the last playoff spot. So
considering how good you are with defense, Ryan, I'm disappointed.
Well, the Buccaneers felt like the right play. Plus, like I said, very weird scoring.
Come on now,
league.
Bryce Young and the Panthers on the come up, baby.
Let's go.
I'm a believer now.
Yeah, I asked in the chat, who was your worst Monday's anxiety this week? And Caesar pipes right up.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, he's
later,
in the sheet.
Yep, he is in there. He's in there. Good morning, Hoove. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey.
Caesar says, are the Steelers for real?
Absolutely.
They've always been for real.
That's thank God Joe Zolo is not in the chat right now. I get so frustrated with him in the way he destroys Mike Tomlin. The Steelers are always for real, and Russell Wilson has unlocked something in that offense. This goes back to something I've said. The Steelers have never developed a quarterback. Let's be very clear about that.
Big Ben was drafted
came in and was a baller right from the rip, though. It took him to
was
the
he
playoffs.
though? Because he was a game manager, from what I remember, being carried by a good defense.
Didn't they win like the first 9 games with him at the quarterback spot or something like that?
Again, it was all defense. He just didn't turn the ball over.
They've never developed a quarterback. Everything has been handed to them.
I mean, it's very, their coaching, their head coach has been handed to them every time too. So I mean,
that's true too. I mean, here's the thing. Tomlin came out of nowhere, though. They hit a fucking home run. People weren't sure.
Whoa. That's not true. That is not true. He was on Tony Dungy's staff in Tampa.
Agree. I'm just saying, I remember when the hiring happened, people had questions about it, probably because back then everybody was still racist and they didn't want to see a black guy run the Steelers. But more importantly, I remember the media was not bought in. And like I said, I feel like he came out of nowhere, but you're right. They hit home runs when it comes to these head coaching spots. So,
yeah, I feel like between them hitting home runs on their head coach and the way the Green Bay Packers hit home runs on quarterbacks,
that's fair.
Illegal.
Yeah, there's that.
Ryan proving he's never watched the Packers.
Yeah, when I was bitching about Aaron Rodgers, that's fair.
Yeah, we're talking about here's another one about Aaron Rodgers. They lost when they signed him. It's never going to work. It never will. Sin Godzilla.
Felt weird.
Fizzle says, Burrow is capitalizing from a terrible defense, catching up and padding stats on the offense has always been the formula. In Dallas, I've seen this storyline before.
That's an interesting chicken and egg argument. Like, we're giving Burrow a lot of credit, but we might be looking at this the complete wrong way. It's not the defense letting them down. It's the defense glowing up the offense. So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Burrow's good enough to be able to pad those stats, right? It's the same way with Dak. Like, he's good enough to pad those stats. Yeah. Burrow has the weapons. He's got Chase. He's got Higgins. We've seen what Chase Brown has been able to do the last month as the starter. So, like, it's not unfathomable to me. But at the end of the day, yeah, the opportunity is there because the Cincinnati Bengals defense is fucking dog shit.
But isn't that what we're supposed to do as fantasy managers? Look at who they're playing so they can pad their stats?
100%.
Exactly.
So I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Pad your stats, buddy. Esteban says, I think the Bengals don't need, what do you say? The Bengals don't need like a crazy good defense.
But they need to force more turnovers, yeah.
In order to
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, that's what, the Dan Quinn defense with the Cowboys, like Trayvon Diggs was getting all those interceptions, strip sacks, the fumbles, the punt or the return TDs. Like, anytime you have a defense that creates turnovers, it's going to put your offense in a better position to succeed because you're playing with shorter fields. You're wearing out the opposing team's defense. All those things line up. I agree. It's the bend don't break mentality.
I say you have a quarterback that can score every time he has the ball. So
Charlene picked up the Seattle D's on Sunday waivers, left them on the bench, and might still pull off the win. Still making rookie mistakes in week 13.
Okay, we all do.
Yep.
We all second guess ourselves.
Well, not to mention, that was more of you got touchdown saving the day in that one. It's not like Seattle was a great play this week, but they had some fluky plays that saved them. So,
yeah, I know this next one is in my DMs. It's in your DMs, Ryan, but George flipped out come Thursday evening. He was flipping out. And then yesterday, he kindly sends me a message. We won! Yes, love it. Hoove says he started Wan'Dale Robinson, and it cost him first place in Pros with Joe's. Debating a defense all week, and they went with the Bills. Turns out would have been fine no matter what he did, Chargers or Cowboys.
Literally all three teams were listed on my stream of the week. Cowboys were the stream of the week. So.
Yeah, he was asking about that asking me about that. And I was like, yeah, get the Cowboys. And the minute he went to put it in, somebody else claimed them before he could get it in. Joel Burrow is a Troy Aikman without the best O-line of all time and a really good defense.
I don't know about that. I never really thought Troy Aikman was that good of a passer, truthfully, but to each their own, I guess.
No, it goes right back to what we said about Marino, right? But Troy Aikman did have the running game.
Yeah, I was gonna say they had to respect the running game against Dallas.
Yeah, they had a hell of a tight end, and some guy named Michael Irvin was on that team as well. How are we feeling about Tyrone Tracy now? We will get into Tyrone Tracy, I believe, is on the sheet as well. Or is he?
I don't think he is. No.
Okay. Weird snap count between him and Singletary. Quit fumbling the fucking ball.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's what it boils down to.
He looks like a rookie. He's not a league winner. That's for sure. So.
I mean, I still think he can be. I mean, at the end of the day, the Giants, they're not going up. Let's be real here.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You need to see what you have with your rookies anyway. There's literally no reason for them to play Devin Singletary at all.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the birthday shots. Big rookies with big games and welcoming them to the league. Caleb Williams, 20 of 39, 256, 3 touchdowns, finished week 13 as QB3. Malik Neighbors, kind of an iffy game, but still 8 of 13, 69 yards. Brock Bowers, who we will get into later, 10 of 14, 140 and a touchdown. Ladd McConkey, 9 of 12, 117 yards. I believe 105 of those were in the first half.
107, I think it was.
50% target share this past week. Now, the matchups that he has in the playoffs are beautiful against Tampa and against New England. Juicy. And not that you weren't starting him anyway. I mean, he's the volume king, right? Jaden Daniels, 25 of 30, 206, 3 touchdowns, added 9 for 34 and a rushing touchdown. 2 straight weeks, fantasy football quarterback 1 overall.
Really sucks that he's on a bye next week.
Yep. Paid attention. Bucky Irving, 25 touches, 152 and a touchdown, adding 3 of 3 in the receiving game. And I know we will talk about him because this is such a pro Bucky Irving podcast. So, love that. Man, injuries. Let's talk about these guys. The past couple of weeks, we've avoided some major injuries, but all of that has now
not this week.
It's changed. Ryan hit it on earlier. Trevor Lawrence concussion. I don't know if he's going to play again this year. Taysom Hill, knee injury, potentially season ending. CMC, knee injury. It sounds like it's the PCL. Potentially season ending. Romeo Dobbs, concussion. Dallas Goedert's got a knee injury. And Rashad Bateman got a knee injury. There's a couple others, but not of huge importance when it comes to fantasy.
These are the big ones.
These are the big ones, and they kind of hurt. Rashad Bateman, though, that's become a big one because of the last few weeks, and it's all his.
Well, he's their deep threat. He's the one that keeps, it keeps the defense back, so that opens up more running lanes for Lamar and Derrick Henry. And we saw what happened. Derrick Henry really never got going against Philly. Now, granted, Philly's run defense is, really, their defense is statistically the best in the league all around. So
Derrick Henry got pieced up by a white rookie corner. So I'm
sure don't steal my thunder. We're talking about that. All right.
What about stealing somebody's thunder? I know you read that on the sheet, Ryan.
I did.
Yeah. George, with Taysom Hill temporarily out for the season, is Jauan Jennings a good ad over Ferguson?
Kind of the same guy. Every time you buy into Jauan Jennings, he lets you down. It's just how it goes. So.
I think with this time, though, they're targeting more simply because they have no other wide receivers.
They have no wide receivers either. Yeah.
I think the stat I saw, there was only 9 pass attempts that went to the wide receiver position in this game for the Saints. So, that tells you right there that Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, those guys are going to be used more in this offense. But it all boils down to this offense basically is Alvin Kamara.
You're also dealing with Ferguson's injuries. You might as well go Johnson if you're looking to make a move. So
correct.
I think
the other thing, pick up Luke Schoonmaker.
Who actually gets mentioned in the chat.
need to keep an eye on with this Saints team is Chris Olave is available to come back week 15. I believe it is.
And they're technically in the running for a playoff spot in this terrible division.
Not that I was high on Olave this year at the beginning of the year, but I mean, it is outside of MVS, their only wide receiver.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on that as well. Shout out to Ryan for helping Caesar draft a ton of Bowers. Nice.
But then what Caesar's pointing out is in the Club Fantasy Listener League, his team name, Irritable Bowers Syndrome, went ahead and beat the hell out of me this week. Not that that is a surprise to anybody who's been following along in the Club Fantasy Listener League. I've had a terrible season, but Caesar beat the shit out of me this week.
I want to bring this up, Ryan, just because George sent me a DM last night, and I think he should wait and wait till tomorrow and get with you on the defenses. But he's planning on dumping basically half of his fab on the Ravens defense against the Giants on week 15.
Know your league. There's a good chance the Ravens are going to go free because they're on bye week 14. So it depends on if everybody else is going to play this game in your league. I don't know that it's going to require the fab dump, putting it out there. But again, we can talk more about this on the way.
But also, at this point, why are you saving fab?
Well, there's that too.
Who literally is on waivers that's going to be a league winner right now?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, we'll talk more about this tomorrow.
Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a fab dump.
Yeah, if you still have fab in your pocket, then I would definitely be looking at what everybody else has as well.
Yeah.
Well, that and what everybody else in your league has, because if you have fab, you don't have to spend but $1 more than what the most.
Yeah, if you see that the next guy has $36, bid 37 and you win. So.
Yeah, and you know it's guaranteed and you know what you have left. Doesn't have him, but Nick Westbrook-Ikhine getting 2 more touchdowns on 3 catches is actually insane. And yes, we will talk about it. We will.
Yeah, you guys are ahead.
They're all over they are in our sheet. Yeah. Let's get to the shot of espresso quality performances that had the juices flowing. And Ryan, for the first time this year, I think you're going first.
Yeah, I think Josh made me do it one other time. And it was probably a tight end week there as well.
Wow,
because
that's probably what it was.
Yeah, exactly. But we got to talk Brock Bowers. What a week. What can we say that we haven't said already? What I did find interesting in 4-point touchdowns, which is like what fantasy data defaults to, Bowers is actually the top player in fantasy this week. He's ahead of the quarterbacks. He is the top player in fantasy with 2 more points than Josh Allen, who we'll talk about later. He's obviously the tight end 1 in fantasy overall this season. He is the 15th highest scorer in fantasy this season. I sorted by flex, and Brock Bowers is number 15 right now. But this is the part I wanted to talk about. 884 yards. That puts him 5th among rookie tight ends all time. He has 5 games left to break Ditka's record of 1076. That's 39 yards per game. That's about 200. Yeah, exactly. That's 100. I'm trying to do my math quick. 192 yards, I believe, is all he needs. He could do that in his next game. And something, I've been victory lapping for a while is I was one of the highest on him. I was the highest Football Guys ranker on Brock Bowers. I was the 3rd highest in Fantasy Pros. I was the highest all season long. I moved him down 1 and someone else moved him up to 4. So I want to give a shout out to Mark Ringo, who has his website affiliation listed as Sleepers and Bust, and Scott Bogman, who with Fantasy Pros. They had him 4th and 6th, respectively. I had him at 7th. But these are the people who were really high on Brock Bowers. And we kind of talked about this before the show. When I wrote my Brock Bowers article, I couldn't understand the disconnect between calling him a generational talent coming into the draft and then drafting him as the tight end 12 in fantasy. And I wrote an article about this because Faith didn't want to. So shout out to Faith for making me look really, really smart. But I ended my article with that if Brock Bowers hits his ceiling, there's a non-zero chance he's the number 1 tight end. I was comparing him to Sam Laporta. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? He's the number 1 tight end. Brock Bowers, baby. I love seeing it.
Yeah, I'm actually really mad at myself for how low I had him ranked preseason heading into, because I loved the Raiders landing spot in the draft and everybody was so down on that. It never made sense to me because I like Jacoby Myers, but I don't think he had the kind of ceiling that Brock Bowers did. So I felt that he probably would vault over Myers to be that number 2 target behind Adams. obviously when you're doing projections, you're not really considering who might get traded or injured or any of those types of things. So my projections came in a hell of a lot lower, but the ceiling was always there. It just mattered who was going to be the quarterback. Were they going to be able to get him the football? And again, that was another thing that I hated about the Raiders is their quarterback situation sucked.
Yep.
We're seeing now, it doesn't fucking matter because Brock Bowers is that fucking good. Yeah. And they're going to get a QB upgrade in 2025. Let's be real here.
I mean, Aiden O'Connell's not bad.
He's slinging it. He's slinging it. But he's
I mean,
not
he's what you want out. He's what you want out of a fantasy quarterback.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely. Don't forget, if you are new, please hit that subscribe button for us. Hit that like button. We go live like 6 days a week. There's unlimited shows. So we have whatever you are looking for when it comes to fantasy DFS. And it's going to get more and more as we move into the off season. So make sure you're hitting that like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you know when we go live every single day of the week. Josh, who is your shot of espresso?
So I'm gonna show some love to Rico Dowdle. We've been shitting on this guy for probably the better part of
2 weeks in a row. Josh's pro week of Rico Dowdle.
Fuck is going
on? Well, I mean, I was talking about him on last week's waiver wire show.
Yep.
And really, it just kind of boils down to he's starting to get the run, right? The last 2 weeks, he's seen over 84% running back share in this Cowboys offense. This week, he finishes as the RB6 with 21.3 fantasy points. It's the second time this season that he's topped over 20. He's been over 10 fantasy points each of the last 2 weeks. And this is his first 100-yard game. Granted, it's against the Giants. Giants kind of suck. But you know what? These are the types of games that help build the momentum. And that's fine. We can live with this. It's all good. He's a flex guy. He doesn't have to be anything more than that. You put him in the flex. You hope for RB2 numbers. Maybe you get a great matchup and he finishes as an RB1 like he did this week. It's okay for us, especially here at Club Fantasy, where Joe Zolo leads the charge about shitting on Rico Dowdle. It's okay. He can be somewhat reliable. He's going to show up and start sit questions, and I get it. Play the matchups with Rico. That's what it boils down to.
100%.
And I think during the playoffs you can, because week 15 they are at Carolina, and then week 16 at home against Tampa.
There you
week
go.
17 ain't a great matchup, of course, because it's Philly, But
again, like those are weeks that you need to win to get to the championship, and then you play the better matchup in the championship.
There you go.
So, there you go.
Here you go. Ryan, your next guy.
Not a whole lot to say here, but the Josh Allen play. People are big mad about how the NFL scores hook and ladder. Either you're mad that your website didn't give it to you because of your league settings, or you're mad like my best friend who texted me this morning, if I lose because Josh Allen threw a touchdown pass to himself that he didn't technically catch, I am done with fantasy. He's so pissed. But as Jay alluded to earlier, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and 1 receiving touchdown with no receptions. Josh Allen is officially the next Taysom Hill. You heard it here first. Let's get him tight end eligibility in fantasy football.
Insane. Didn't even get 150 yards. We talked about this with Jared Goff a few weeks ago, the amount of yardage compared to the amount of touchdowns.
Jared Goff had that game where he had like 126 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But it was, you know what, as bad as that game was supposed to be because of weather, it was actually
fun.
really good. It was a fun game.
Fun. That's the thing. Snow games are fun. Like the players get out there and they're like little kids again.
But it truly reminded me of like when you look at the old videos of like the 70s, early 80s of, where you didn't really truly have the forward pass. It was run the damn ball.
Well, there was that
one.
God, there was that Bills Browns game in the blizzard. God, it has to be about 15 years ago now, where the final score was 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they could not do anything the entire game. So
yeah, Ryan, I am trying to like build up the time frame here so we can skip over Josh's next guy, because I know you and I can both welcome him to the bandwagon, because we've been boosting this guy up, even though we were
welcoming, bitch. I was on this bandwagon last year. Shut up.
That was last year, and you were completely off to start the year. But
some of us need to still believe Josh.
Everybody was off to start this year.
No,
shut up.
No, me and Ryan were not.
I say
the motherfucker was benched.
I was gonna say, did me and Jay were we down in the first half? Yes.
We were the Seattle Seahawks playing the Jets yesterday.
Yeah, they had us in the first half. I'm not going to lie.
Us in the first half. Go ahead, Josh. You're the guy.
I just want to give a shout out to freaking Bryce Young, man. Like, he was my QB1 last year. I loved him coming out. I thought shut up. There was high hopes with Dave Canales coming in and taking over. After 2 games, he gets benched. But you know what? He came back strong. He learned what he needed to do. He found himself comfortable. The offensive line started to gel, which, again, this is what we talk about all the time when you're throwing pieces at an offensive line. It takes time for these units to gel. Halfway through the season, they finally started to do that. The protection has been there. Bryce Young has started to make good decisions. And he's also getting involved in the running game. He's feeling it out and taking off when he needs to. These are things that are going to help him succeed in the league. He was QB7 this week, 23.6 fantasy points, 298 passing yards. Granted, took 46 pass attempts to get there, but you know what? He got there. I will say the concerning part is over the last, 4 or 5 weeks, that completion percentage has literally gone down every single week. But there's been a lot of turnover with the wide receiver position.
I was also going to add, he's taking more chances with the football, which is going to naturally lead to a lower completion percentage, because before he was kind of pussyfooting around the entire time and dinking
really
and dunking. And so, yeah.
And that's what made Bryce Young so great at Alabama. He wasn't afraid to throw the football.
Exactly.
Right? And now he's kind of getting back into that rhythm where, you know what, I'm going to throw the football and my playmakers are going to make plays. The completion percentage has been down, yes. But the last 3 games, he has not thrown an interception. So
amazing.
He's at least throwing it where he needs to throw it to give his receivers an opportunity to catch the ball. They're just not catching it, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So it was good to see Adam Thielen kind of bounce back, because I was pretty adamant on Saturday's show where I was like, why the fuck is he even on rosters? Why are we getting him in start sit questions? Maybe there's a reason, people. There's a reason.
I hope you started it.
Yeah, right? At the end of the day, a young quarterback is finally progressing after, taking the time where he needed to regain his mentals and footing, whatever it may be, and he's looking the part.
Well,
he's going to regress big time next week against Philly, but still.
I go back to the video the week he got benched where he was coming out of the tunnel and still carried himself like a professional, signed that kid's autograph. The kid was telling him how he's sad he got benched and everything, and he carried himself very well. So even in that very fucked up time where he could have just been a complete dickhead diva baby, he carried himself like a professional, which I think speaks volumes to Bryce Young as a person as well. So.
Yeah, and you guys know, as big of a Bucs fan as I am, I was watching the whole game, and the one thing that they said at the very beginning of the telecast is, since Bryce Young has come back, Dave Canales, as smart as he is, has told Bryce Young to get out of the huddle with about 20 to 21 seconds on the clock.
Thank God.
The reason he's doing that is he still has 5 more minutes to talk to him, or 5 more seconds to talk to him to
help him with the adjustments at the line.
The adjustments that he needs. And Bryce is doing that. He's progressively getting better and better and better. Like Josh said, no turnovers over the last 3 weeks. Or I'm sorry, no interceptions over the last 3 weeks. So even though he's throwing the ball a little bit more, taking more chances, he's not putting the ball in harm's way when it comes to that. So props to him for that. And props to you, Josh, for jumping on the wagon.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
I have slid over. You've got a chair right next to me, and I'll teach you how to play this game. Ryan, who's your last guy you got?
Again, quick one here, a little bit of a victory lap. On the Wednesday show, I mentioned Chris Rodriguez from Washington was a sneaky play this week. Most people were scared off because if you looked early in the week, he was listed as a free agent because they demoted him to the practice squad, but then they had to bring him right back up after the Eckler injury. The kid goes 13 carries, 94 yards and a touchdown, 7.2 yards per carry. He's good size, 225-pound back. He's only 24 years old. He's a kid I like coming out of college, and I'm hoping we see him get a little bit more run, either with Washington, probably not with Washington, but maybe with another team next year if they're going to keep reverting him to his their practice squad. So,
yeah, I like him as a player. Josh, you got anything to add and then head on to your next guy? Not with Rodriguez, no. I mean, it was good to see the kind of running a little bit more than Jeremy McNichols.
Yep.
I don't know how much of that really was
garbage time,
the garbage time side of it, but 13 for 94, like those are efficient numbers, and that's what you want to see.
Yep. That's what you want out of a backup running back.
I think all of his carries, Chris Rodriguez carries were in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll take the L on that one. I didn't realize that, but still, I like the kid.
Regardless, he put up the stats. That's what matters.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what matters. We don't care as fantasy managers where when and when they touch the ball.
That's very fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Ball and get in the end zone.
Thanks.
Josh, your last guy.
My last guy, the savior at cornerback, Cooper Dejean, baby. And the Eagles defense as a whole, they held the number one offense in the NFL to basically one touchdown for the first 59 minutes and 50 seconds. And I'm not going to count the last 10 seconds because let's be real, they didn't care if they gave up that touchdown to Isaiah Likely. Though I do want to give a shout out to Isaiah Likely because that was literally the same play where his foot did not stay in bounds in week 1. At least he learned his lesson 13 weeks later.
I do find it interesting that touchdown to Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely was standing right behind him. If Andrews wasn't there, I think Likely would have caught that ball.
I was wondering if Likely was like in a student to the master, right? I see how you do that.
I watched the games with my wife, and I said, "There's no way that play was designed that way because those two just brought everybody to one spot of the field."
Yeah, right. But no, like Cooper Dejean, he's been lights out. For much of the season, he's been a top 5 graded corner per Pro Football Focus. Absolutely unreal as a rookie corner, which is very difficult to do in the NFL. But more to the point, this man put an absolute textbook tackle on Derrick frickin' Henry, who has 50 pounds on Cooper Dejean.
Yep.
And this man straight up flattened him.
Put those shoulder pads in the Hall of Fame, baby.
Like, straight up. Cooper Dejean is a goddamn savior, and this is why the Eagles are going to win the NFC. That's what I'm saying.
Ryan, I gotta say this, a little peek behind the scenes, but on the show sheet, Josh put it in blue underline. And I'm like, it's a hyperlink.
That's the actual hyperlink to the video of the tackle.
Yeah. So you can actually, I'm like, is he trying to teach me how to tackle?
Yeah, he wants me and you to improve our tackling for him, Jay, before next season.
Reference.
Golly. I got you a bonus one for today. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 75 yards, a touchdown, 6 for 6 in the receiving game, 54 yards. Arthur Smith tried his best to get Patterson involved. Najee was having none of it. He's a plotter. He's inefficient. So fucking what? He's strong, dependable, and he gets the volume. Who the fuck needs backups?
It's
as Quinn Ewers says in the Dr. Pepper commercial, we don't need backups.
Yeah.
Season high 15.8 target share, 72.7% backfield carry share. That's his highest since week 1. And because he scored from outside of the 5, I believe it was, he and Jaylen Warren each received 1 touch inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
You get the roller coaster of Najee Harris, but he's just always going to get you that solid flex position.
100%.
It feels like.
And if they can get him involved in the passing game, all the better. So,
yeah. All right, let's get to some of these questions over in the chat before we get to the migraine of the week. George is Joe Mixon, loving some Joe Mixon. Nico Collins as well.
Is he actually called Nicholas, or was that an autocorrect? Now I got to go look this up. You keep going. I'm going to go look that up.
Yeah, go look that up. As a Packer fan, Josh Jacobs has been on an absolute heater. Yes, facts. O'Connell, to my comment about O'Connell's pretty good. He's the poor people's Jameis Winston.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Keep helping fantasy managers get points via the wide receiver position. I'll take it. Or tight end position, whatever. I'll take it.
Yeah, I looked it up a minute ago. The issue, he's not getting a ton of touchdowns, but he's not throwing interceptions. And that's as long as you're not getting the negative points, right? Still got like 20 something.
Keep the offense on the field helps in PPR. So.
That's right.
There you go.
Taysom Hill 2.0.
Josh Allen, baby. That's his legacy now.
Yep, that's it.
I had to go through and start all of those like Josh Allen, Taysom Hill questions because
Josh Allen.
I do like this stat that Charlene pulled though.
Two career receiving touchdowns, 1 reception. It's gonna break the algorithm.
I love it.
I think it's at least broke fantasy Twitter.
He's the most efficient wide receiver in NFL history.
I don't know. We're gonna talk about somebody that's way fucking efficient.
Well, that's true. That's very true. Oh, so Josh Allen is also the next Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
I can't believe I benched Terry McLaurin for JSN.
I owe fantasy Twitter an apology. I told everybody to bench McLaurin this week.
All of us did.
Yeah.
All of us did. Nobody saw that coming.
No.
Nobody saw that coming.
And the fact that you did it all in the first half, I'm just sitting there with pie on my face that entire game. I was like, oops.
So ugly. I swear the Seahawks offensive line blocks better for Sharps than they do Walker. That was ugly.
It's in the show sheet. We'll talk a little bit about it. So.
That was ugly. They don't give Walker touches around the goal line. It's atrocious. They gave him 2. And
I was gonna say, I maybe I'll save it for later. It's part of my notes. We'll talk about it. Yep. So,
Bryce Young comeback player of the year. Book it.
I hope so.
Josh has got his thinking cap on.
Well, here's my thing. Because they screwed Baker out of it last year, could they give it to Baker this year?
Well, I think what they're basically, didn't they like readjust the rules for what constitutes comeback player of the year now?
I already forget who got it. Did Flacco get it or did Baker get it?
Yeah, Flacco got it.
Okay, Flacco got it.
So I don't know. It could be Bryce Young.
Yeah,
but I feel like they changed the narrative that it had to be more injury related or something.
It had to be more injury related. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what Joel points out. He doesn't qualify. Yeah. It has to they're talking about injuries now. So
Flacco shouldn't have qualified. Or did they change it this year?
They changed it after
Flacco got it. Okay.
Yeah,
because I think the big narrative around it was DeMar Hamlin not playing. He only played like 10 snaps last year. So yeah.
Yeah, but that was a whole different situation.
Yeah. He died.
Quincy wants to know, does he drop Justin Tucker for the Bills kicker? Or for the Bills kicker Bates? No.
This is what I was confused on because I know the Bills kicker is Tyler Bass. Bates is the
Detroit. You can get Bates. Kicker. Yes, I dropped Justin Tucker for Bates this week. Do it. Yes.
Yeah, because Detroit is at home against Buffalo next week, and then Chicago.
They have that outdoor game in Chicago. Yep.
And then the outdoor game in San
Francisco. Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm all in on Bates. I've been all in on Bates all year. So
yeah, watch the weather in Chicago, obviously, but Buffalo, what you saw yesterday is going to be Buffalo's weather for most of the rest of the season. So,
Charlene, she started Thielen in one league and sat him for Leggett in the other. That hurts.
Yeah,
that hurts.
Everyone said Mason was droppable. And the week I drop him, CMC gets hurt. Now I'm going to be impossible to get him.
Now, Jeff, you followed with us for about.
Star this for a reason.
Okay, well, I wanted to say because I feel like we've been asked this, Josh, and I at least said do not drop Jordan Mason.
Well, I mean, and it's boiled down to this, right? Like typically, what we've said when it comes to these backup running backs, and the moment that CMC came back, Jordan Mason became a backup running back. The last
100%.
few weeks, he has gotten next to nothing when it comes to usage, carries, whole 9 yards. This is what Kyle Shanahan does. When he finds a running back that he likes that will produce, they don't run the backups, plain and simple. At that point, Mason's value is strictly as a handcuff, right? He doesn't have that kind of standalone value that maybe somebody like, I don't know, Tyler Algier might have, right? Like, he's in that Blake Corum category. He's in the Braylon Allen category. That's kind of where he sort of sits now. We cannot predict injuries, plain and simple.
No.
And that's really what this took. A lot of this we preached. If you have the roster space, yeah, sure, go ahead and hang on to Mason or look to try to trade him to the CMC manager because he becomes more valuable to the CMC manager because of the injury upside, right? At this point, if you don't have CMC and you have Mason, he's a roster clogger because you're not ever going to feel comfortable starting Mason unless CMC gets hurt. This is just a simple case of shitty luck, plain and simple.
By the way, what the fuck's with Isaiah Davis getting run over Braylon Allen yesterday? I wasn't happy to see that either. So, Jay, you're muted.
As soon as I saw that little whatever you call it, that little chuck pass right there to the touchdown, I was like, oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. I know it is.
Yeah.
Where the hell is Braylon Allen?
I was furious.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. I am sure you were. Let's get into the migraine. Worse than a hangover. The underwhelming performance that is a prelude of what is to come. Josh, we'll start with you.
Hey, remember a few weeks ago when I said you could get rid of Chuba Hubbard? How's that working for you, Ryan?
Looks. I'll just add Jonathan Brooks didn't look great.
Look, this was a very winnable matchup for running backs. The Tampa Bay run defense has been really not good this year. Maybe you chalk this up to the Panthers offensive line just not being able to guard their defensive tackles very well. But from going from 5 snaps the previous week to now basically splitting carries with Chuba Hubbard, this is what happens. This is what happens, right?
I mean, you literally called
into the snap share.
You literally called that December was going to be Jonathan Brooks's month.
Okay,
So.
well, we're getting into December, baby.
We are.
So 12 carries for Hubbard, 6 for Jonathan Brooks. Brooks had 3 targets, which turned into 3 receptions. Chuba had 0 targets. Now, the upside here is Chuba Hubbard did have 32 routes run to Jonathan Brooks's 6, which basically tells you that Chuba Hubbard was an afterthought even when he was running those routes. He was not the first read, second read, or probably even the third read on any.
Didn't even get a target.
So. Did not see a single target. Yes, I understand. Chuba Hubbard signed an extension. The Panthers really are not playing for 2024. They're seeing what they have as they go into 2025 and continue to build the future of this team, because they finally have a first-round pick next year after trading all of them to get Bryce Young. Bryce Young is starting to look the part, plain and simple. He is starting to look the part. The Panthers can go into next year not feeling like they need to spend a high draft pick on a quarterback. But what this means, Jonathan Brooks is going to continue to see run, and they're going to run more of a tandem backfield. This will hurt Chuba Hubbard, and all those fantasy points he got you in the first 3 months of the season, they're not likely to be there for the final month of this season, which is going to hurt your playoff push.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know with all the buys we got for week 14, Brooks is probably not somebody you want to play going up against Philly this week, but they do have a nice playoff schedule with Dallas, Arizona, Tampa. Yeah. My question, Josh, is, and I think it's one way, that Chuba Hubbard fumble at the end of the game there, that ended up giving the Bucks the win. Is that going to cost Chuba some more playing time? We already know that he's going to lose playing time already, but is it going to eat into it even more? Because that was the game. All he had to do was hold on to the ball, and they win that ball game.
Well, I think the biggest thing when it comes to fumbles, they don't usually carry into future games. It's usually just that game, Tracy, right?
It has with Tyrone.
But it really hasn't, though. Like, he was down to 20% in the game that he fumbled, and he was at a 73% snap share this past week. So, that's what I'm saying. Devin Singletary had 5 carries. I'm not that worried about it with Tyrone Tracy. Yes, he's going to have the rookie mistakes. Chuba Hubbard's not a rookie. He's the veteran. If this is Jonathan Brooks making that fumble, it's different. Chuba Hubbard's the veteran. He knows better. But still, it's one game. I'm not worried that it carries over. What I'm worried about carrying over is the fact that Jonathan Brooks is the rookie, and they need to see the rookie play.
Yep.
Very fair.
And they're technically still in a playoff race.
I mean, technically, sure. Because
very technically.
Shit out, so.
It's the NFC South. I mean, what do we?
Yeah.
Ryan, who's yours?
I fully intend on not changing my migraine for the rest of the season because I told you guys I was going to call this out. Jaylen Waddle goes right back to being your favorite wide receiver 4 in fantasy. He's the wide receiver 32 this week, and that's before tonight's games where Cortland Sutton is certainly going to sit him down, probably Jerry Jeudy as well. 4 targets, which is tied for 4th on the team, tied with rookie Malik Washington. So yeah, Jaylen Waddle, league winner. No.
Wow.
I have nothing to add. I told you guys I was going to be facetious about this for the rest of the season, and I intend on it. So,
okay, so
we are nothing if not petty and spiteful.
Oh, I am so petty. And this all stems from there is no one more jaded on Jaylen Waddle than me. I spent an entire fucking season fighting Josh about Jaylen Waddle, and he let me down every week. I will not turn. I will never be on the side of Jaylen Waddle. This is extra petty. Yeah.
So I asked in the chat who was the underwhelming star, right? Who was giving them the migraine? Now, man, this migraine, when we talk about the migraine, it's the underwhelming performance with a prelude of what's to come.
Yeah.
George pipes up right away and says Kirk Cousins, 4 interception day yesterday.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can expect going forward?
It's on the sheet.
Let's save it. On the sheet.
Yeah.
Debo, migraine.
I mean,
unless you're in Scott Fishbowl. Fuck you, Ryan.
Ask Josh about Debo and Scott Fishbowl, baby.
I was so pissed. I saw 208 return yards. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Someone put out a tweet. I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the guys at CBS maybe put out a tweet that Debo had 125 kick return yards on the season coming into last night and goes for 208 last night. Good luck predicting that. So.
Props to Kyle Shanahan getting the ball in his hands somehow, some way. Right?
Well, and I noticed that I brought that up on, I think, the waiver show last week. I noticed it the week before that they were like struggling to get the ball in his hands. It never occurred to me they might drop his ass in on the kickoffs. So
Austin says, I won 155 to 100 and 147 to 107 this week. Currently up 20 points in my league. The opponent has Njoku left. I'm kind of feeling like you're okay.
Yeah, it's a coin toss. Njoku could have a big week, but that Denver defense is no joke. So I think you're probably in good shape. So.
Let's see. We got another one from Austin. He held out for CJ Stroud last week. Finally dropped him for someone else.
You go.
You love to see it.
You for weeks.
Yep.
Millie Mills. How's some Falcons doing? I'm sorry. Mondre's underperforming star. Oh my God. Been trying to trade him for about a month now.
Everybody hates Ramondre Stevenson, plain and simple. So.
I got into it all Saturday with Joe Zolo about Ramondre Stevenson. He was all about it. He said Mondre was going to have 83 yards and a touchdown. Of course, Antonio Gibson gets the touchdown. Mondre still had 73, so I'll give him some props on that one.
Mondre had a touchdown.
It was a good matchup.
No, that was called back because of a penalty.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about. I was like, I watched it happen. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I forgot about that.
And again, final stat lines, Ryan. Pay attention.
Well, at least you know I'm not box score watching.
That's what happens when Ryan's watching on Red Zone. He sees the touchdown and then move on.
Exactly. That's 1,000% it. I was like, fuck yeah, Mondre, I needed that, baby.
I know. I was mad. Like I literally saw an Alvin Kamara touchdown. I'm like, where's this shit in the box score? What are we doing? I called back due to penalty. So yeah. On
top of the CMC Mason thing, I have BTJ and finally get T-Law back. And this happens.
Just bad luck, man.
Jeff, that's just bad.
That Brian Thomas Jr. touchdown was nice this week. So I liked seeing that.
And you know what? Mac Jones started to look like a competent quarterback in that game. So maybe there's still hope for Brian Thomas Jr. as the last month of the season goes on.
Yeah.
Well, both Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence underthrew Brian Thomas Jr. in that game as well, where he was wide open as well.
Yeah.
One fumble doesn't cost you time. Multiple fumbles do.
That's words of wisdom right there from Joel.
Oh, stop it. Oh, and Millie Mills. Of course, Gator wants to talk and laugh about Kirk Cousins' 4 interceptions. Hey, listen, I propped up Kirk Cousins' 99 touchdown passes against the Bucs, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fair. All's fair in the NFC South. Anyway, let's get to the morning mimosa, that early morning feeling that gives you that tingly. Something on the horizon? We should be expecting more within the next week. I don't know about this guy, Josh. I think we've been expecting more from the get-go.
Oh, we have.
Yeah.
I've been high on
Remember, we're not talking just to us three.
Yeah. This is the thing.
But I did get that
The
tingling
takeover is finally complete.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving said, see ya, and left Rachaad White in the dust. 2 straight weeks, he has topped 27 fantasy points. And no, that is not a typo. Bucky Irving was the RB1 on this week. He had 25 carries to Rachaad White's 11 and out-targeted Rachaad White. And this was a close game. Because if you remember last week when I talked about this, I said it was a blowout. So I wasn't 100% sure if this type of usage for Bucky Irving, especially in the passing game, would continue. Guess what, people? It continued.
Yeah.
And it was a close game. So let's fucking go. Wheels up, baby. I'm all about this. Now I just need to see more Sean Tucker. But here's the irony in all of this. We talk about how bad Rachaad White's yards per carry was. Rachaad White in a secondary role actually had a higher yards per carry than Bucky Irving. But this is what I find great. 25 carries and Bucky Irving still had over 6 yards per carry.
Yep.
That is how good
That's
this kid is.
Yep.
That is how good this kid is. And it only took the Bucs 12 games to figure it out.
Josh, I think what's funny is I had him listed. I've got of course, with me being a Bucs fan, I had him listed and had a bunch of notes up there. None of my notes were the same as yours. So I'm just going to throw these out here real quick about Bucky. Only Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley are averaging more fantasy points than Irving's 24.1 points per game since week 10. Over the past 3 weeks, 67 touches, 424 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is a total of 72.5 fantasy points. 3 weeks.
Yeah, that'll work.
Backfield share yesterday, season high is 69%. Rushing attempts, like you brought up, 25. Fantasy rushing yards, rather, 152. Listen to this. This is rookies, okay? Scrimmage yards. Bucky is leading in scrimmage yards for all rookies. He's got over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. The next closest one, Brock Bowers. He's got over 100 yards more than Brock Bowers, 1,017 to Brock Bowers, 895. This is as of 4 o'clock yesterday, through the 4 o'clock games yesterday. Rushing yards leaders, he's number one there as well when it comes to rookies, 732 to Tyrone Tracy, 619. But here's a good one for you. Rushing touchdowns for rookies. He's tied with Jaden Daniels with 6.
That's crazy.
Give that man the ball.
Yeah.
Pay that man with the ball.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, who's your guy?
I wasn't sure if he was on the sheet. I found him a little bit later, but Jay and I had different points here. We got to talk about Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I don't know if this is going to continue into the future, but let's just enjoy what it is now. He is the wide receiver 7 this week. He has scored in 7 of his last 8 games, but has that 2 touchdown game from this week. So now it's 8 touchdowns in 8 games. This started back in week 7. He is the wide receiver 13 in fantasy since that started, but then I decided I wanted to be real petty here. On the season, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine only has 15 fewer fantasy points than Jaylen Waddle, despite 22 fewer targets. He also just matched Jaylen Waddle's career high for touchdowns. So Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, he's only 27 years old, and I think going into next season, I don't think he's going to get put in the back burner again. Like he got put in the back burner this year for Ridley, technically, because they already had Hopkins, but he got put in the back burner the year before that for Treylon Burks. I think the Titans are going to be comfortable going into next season with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine as their wide receiver 2. I really do.
I want to give a shout out to one of our subscribers, Woods Girl. She came up with a really cool nickname for Nick.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
Westbrook-Ikhine Weenie Teeny Bikini.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, I could not leave this off the stat of the day. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 20 catches, 8 touchdowns. This is since week 6. Like, he didn't have a single target before then.
That's the crazy part. Is they straight up were like, here, let's flip this switch real quick.
But at the same time, Calvin Ridley, who they paid to be their wide receiver 1 after getting rid of D-Hop, is still on the field. It's not like he's not there.
Exactly.
Among wide receivers, only Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown have more touchdowns than Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. 40% of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine's catches result in a touchdown. This is insane. I don't know. I mean, he's a weekly flex. He has to be.
I mean, he's straight up boom or bust. Don't get me wrong, because if he doesn't score a touchdown, his stat line is absolutely god awful. But how can you sit here and say he's not going to score a touchdown? Let's be real.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I would love to know
someone a touchdown for every game in the past 8 weeks.
Yeah. Someone did the whole thing where obviously the streak ended where he had the one game without a touchdown, but someone did it if you had doubled your money every time Christian McCaffrey scored a touchdown. I wonder what it would be like if just this, because the odds on Nick Westbrook-Ikhine have to be skyrocketed. Like, it's crazy.
All right, so a couple more stats I've got for you today. Chiefs have won 14 straight one-score games. They play down to the competition that is abundantly clear.
Yeah.
And I thought this was kind of interesting because Josh brought this up last week when we were talking about Trey McBride. Since targets became a stat, only one other tight end has 88 plus targets and not scored a receiving touchdown over a full season. Guess who that was?
Oh, we know who that was.
We know exactly who it is.
In 2021. I just saw that and I was like, no, that's got to be brought up.
Did you see the writer who said, well, Josh Allen now has more receiving touchdowns than Trey McBride?
Still doesn't have a reception, but that's fine.
By the way, the answer to that, people, was Cole Kmet in 2021.
Yeah, Cole Kmet.
Cole Kmet.
Public enemy number one on our show.
And I don't like the fact that Trey McBride is sharing a sentence with Cole.
No, we got it. Kyler Murray needs to fix that shit real quick.
Well, it's too late. It's too late. It's
not too late. If he scores
we have
this
a month
season,
left in the season.
Exactly. There are 5 games left, Jay.
No, it's too late. Too late. Can't do it. Because now everybody's, Gannon's throwing
and
the ball.
Now we want him to be terrible.
Yeah. No, it's not that we want him to be terrible. I just want to believe what Gannon's telling me, and that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get peppered with targets finally. But that's not true. That's coach speak.
Yeah, I had money on that, and it was only 4.5 was his reception. I was like, oh, this should be easy. It was the last catch of the day that did that. I was like, oh, thank God.
So bad. Is Chase Brown matchup proof?
Yep.
Certainly appears to be. I was pouring water on him. I actually think I was talking with George. I was pouring water on him during that Chargers matchup, and he still had a good game there through the air. He didn't score a touchdown, but he still had a good game there. I think he is, because of his passing game usage, you can play him every week. So
running back opportunities the last 4 weeks, Chase Brown, 100%, 100%, 100%, 92%. He's not coming off the field.
So he's trending down.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. He's trending down. I saw that stat as well. I think that's a phenomenal stat.
Crazy
that he's lost that much over a 1 week period. That he lost 20% of the snaps back then. Insane. Austin says he played Garrett Wilson over Terry McLaurin this week.
I wish
too. So.
I was gonna say I don't know which advice I would give there, because I hated Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams this week too. I don't know what I would have told you. I mean, obviously, I would have told you to start McLaurin. He's going to score 2 touchdowns in the first half.
And this is the thing with Garrett Wilson. Like, the last 3 weeks, he's been over, I think it's 26% target share. There's 26, 32, and 28. He hasn't hit 10 fantasy points in any of them. Like, are you serious right now? Like, that whole Jets offense is just whatever.
But
dysfunctional.
Even yesterday when we were having the start sit on Twitter, we were all against Terry McLaurin this week
100%.
because of the matchup in Tennessee. And I mean, Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin said, fuck you and your damn defense. And they said that in the first half.
It wasn't even so much the matchup. I didn't love the matchup, but it was the fact that over the last, he had 1 point 2 weeks ago and would have had 2 points last week, if not for that last Hail Mary touchdown. He has been trending the wrong direction. And this was that classic get right game.
Yeah. It was insane. What did he end up with? Only 8 targets still. So it wasn't like he got a boatload of targets.
8 for 76.
Well, they didn't quite need him either. They had Chris Rodriguez.
That's true. Vladimir says, I had CMC. Now I have Mason, Mixon, and Bucky. I think you're fine.
Hey, Mason's your right or RB3. You're good, baby.
Hey, this is a nice playoff roster. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, as Joel would say, that would be a very nice 0 RB build right there.
Yep.
Yeah. Millie's, but it was against the Panthers, though. Yeah. So what?
Okay, cool. You want to know who else Bucky and Tampa Bay have on the schedule? They get the Raiders next week.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 weeks, they get Dallas and again against Carolina
in the
championship. So.
Bucky Irving, we might be talking about Bucky Irving being a championship winner because of what he could do. Week 17,
the opening week of the playoffs, it sucks. He's got the Chargers and they have a good defense. But again, the way that Bucky's been playing, I'm not sitting him against the Chargers. I don't care.
No, I love the matchup there. Vladimir, what do you guys think about Isaiah Garrindo, and could he screw Machin managers?
I don't have the stat fresh in my brain. I was pouring water on Horrendo when the whole thing was starting. And I don't know if it's Garrindo or Horrendo. I heard it with the H sound, so that's how I pronounce it. But regardless,
so it would make sense.
Yeah. But I was pouring water. I think some insane 72% of his fantasy production came on 3 carries. I think he's a boomer bust. I think this is going to be Mason. Is just my prediction. I don't think it's going to be that bad. So.
I agree. I think it's Jordan Mason as well. He's got over 700 rushing yards filling in for Christian McCaffrey. So I don't see any reason why the 49ers should steer away from Mason. Again, no Trent Williams, and all these guys are going to suck, plain and simple.
That's a very fair point.
You're not going to get more games like this in the snow. So I think it's going to be fine. But yeah, to me, it's still Mason and then Horrendo. You just go from there.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there. The only game that he really looked good was the Dallas game, right? That was the the big breakaway run and for the touchdown and also So had another week with where I got production from my players of 10+ points, but no TDs except Evans and Darnold.
Hopefully you don't play in standard leagues, Millie.
Exactly. Good to see Evans get in the end zone, though.
Yeah.
That brought a big smile to my face.
All right, let's get to chill the fuck out. The good or the bad. The game that was merely a blip on the schedule, and Josh, Millie Mills wants to talk directly to or listen directly to you.
Yeah. this one's just for Millie, guys.
Right. Look, it's 4 INTs. You don't love Kirk Cousins getting 4 interceptions. Not great. But all this, like, are you going to bench Kirk Cousins? All these questions for Raheem Morris. Look, in reality, this is 3 straight bad weeks for Kirk Cousins, right? Like, has not been good from that perspective. He went from like 10.2 fantasy points down to like 4 and then had the bye and then like 2.7. So, yeah, it does suck. But the reason that I'm saying chill the fuck out on Kirk Cousins is because I don't care about his individual fantasy production. I care about him throwing 16 fucking balls to Drake London and giving Drake London a 42% target share. That's what I care about. So as long as he keeps doing that, I don't care if he throws 4 interceptions. But I found this stat this morning from Doug Farrar from SB Nation.
Yeah.
So 11 of Kirk Cousins' 13 interceptions this season have come from the pistol formation, which is something that Kirk Cousins rarely ever ran prior to coming to Atlanta.
Well, why would he? He's a slow white quarterback. He does not belong in the pistol.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Now, if you've listened to any Club Fantasy show featuring myself for however many amount of time, you know how stubborn I think that offensive head coaches are. Yeah. They like to fit square pegs in round holes. Zach Robinson runs this pistol formation, knowing full well that they gave $160 million to Kirk Cousins. If you know that he doesn't run a pistol formation, why on God's green earth are you running a pistol formation? You save that for when you give the ball to Michael Penix Jr. in 2025.
Yeah.
This is just dumb coaching and probably why you're losing. But in reality, again, I don't care if Kirk Cousins throws 4 interceptions. I'm not trying to start him in week 14 in the bye-apocalypse.
That's true.
I just want him to keep throwing the fucking football to Drake London and Darnell Mooney. And, oh, by the way, maybe throw a couple of targets that Kyle Pitts can actually catch. Because 2 targets and 0 catches, not cool, dude.
And that's fair. Josh, I just want to counterpoint you a little bit because I understand you're going at this from a fantasy standpoint. While I agree with you that Michael Penix is probably not the answer, I do think there is some reason to worry for the Atlanta Falcons. I noticed this in the game against the Saints. Cousins is getting his head torn off in the backfield.
That offensive line is terrible.
So I went back since week 7. He's been sacked 15 times. That's 6 games, about 2 times per game. It's not actually terrible. It ranks like middle of the pack in the NFL. This one I had to find manually, so I don't know where it ranks. But on top of those 15 sacks, in those 6 games, he's been hit another 36 times, which is 6 times per game extra that he's just taking smacks. And a lot of those, he's getting rid of the ball. And then those are the balls that are getting picked off. Now, I can't make any excuse for the arm strength on that pick 6. I don't know what happened on that play, Josh. I think it's interesting. I wonder if the pistol didn't let him get his full throwing motion, and maybe that was the issue. I'll have to go back and rewatch the play with that in mind now. But I want to also speak directly to Millie. And while I think the Falcons are in trouble, and I don't think you should chill the fuck out. I get Josh's point on fantasy, but I do think the Falcons are in trouble if that line doesn't get their shit together. So.
Yeah, I mean, they keep losing, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, the line's not working schematically. Right now, the only thing that's working is Dejean Robinson. The dude's been fire for the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. So, I mean, obviously the offense needs to run through him, get him going, and everything else needs to complement him. But right now, the complement just isn't working.
Yeah. And then for my... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'm right there with you, Ryan, because I get it's the 4 interceptions yesterday. But this is a trend that's been happening. 6 interceptions over the last 3 games, 4 more fumbles that just from Kirk Cousins. So I mean,
that's a good point too that we don't even really talk about, because I feel like fantasy providers need to do a better job of listing that for quarterbacks, because those quarterback fumbles are important. So.
Those are very important. Important. Because if you don't have the ball, guess what? You can't score fantasy points.
Yeah.
So.
And then that's a product of those 36 hits. For my specific guy, he got brought up earlier in the show, and I'm starting to sound like Jaylen Waddle last year all over again, but you are not going to turn me against Kenneth Walker. I just want to throw out there, it was a rough game, but he still out-carried Sharps 16-4. They each had 3 targets. Obviously, Walker only had -3 receiving yards on those 3 targets. I'm a red zone watcher, so I may be wrong here, but my recollection, he had a touchdown called back in this game, and I don't know if it was maybe even the same drive where they then gave it to Sharps. And I feel like we see stuff like that a lot, where a guy wears his ass out to get into the end zone, the play gets called back, and then you bring in the fresh legs. It's a shitty turn of events this week, but this is his job. It's safe. And for all of you that are going to point to the yards per carry, yes, he is inefficient. He's also handling 4 times the carries of Zach Charbonnet, where you're saying the offensive line is blocking better. That's not necessarily untrue. Kenneth Walker has worn out the defensive line. It gets a lot easier for Sharps to come in and get 7 yards per carry. And it used to be the tagline of this show: backup running backs are supposed to be more efficient. So don't freak out on Kenneth Walker. It's a pretty favorable schedule moving forward. It's not plus game after plus game after plus game, but I'm not benching Kenneth Walker, at least as my RB2 for the fantasy playoffs.
Agreed. Not much to add on that one.
I like that. There's no way you're benching him. We used to talk about last year, it was, or even the beginning of this year, it was how inefficient Rachaad White was. Who gives a shit? He's still scoring fantasy points.
Exactly. It was working. And if Kenneth Walker has to become Rachaad White, as long as Zach Charbonnet don't become Bucky Irving, we're okay.
I think we're safe on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get to a couple more of these questions right here in the chat before we get to tonight's game. George wants us to chill the fuck out on Justin Herbert.
He was almost my choice over Kirk Cousins.
So when I do these, I try to pick people that I think people are truly panicking on. I don't see a ton of panic on Justin Herbert, but maybe I just missed it. So,
yeah, I think the problem with Justin Herbert right now is you look at the last 2 games and no touchdowns, but he's no interceptions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not turning the ball over, but also, too, a lot of his fantasy production has come from rushing. He's been being utilized. And
looks good.
did not run the ball, at all this week.
Yeah. 1 yard.
He got the ball to Ladd McConkey. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Johnson kept dropping passes. So
Will Dissly put up the goose egg. Thank God I didn't make him stream of the week.
Wolf. Bad call on my part. Cousins is trash against everyone who's not named Tampa. Thanks, Joel. Fuck off. Moving on. The NFC South winner is going to be a +7.5 in the wild card game against.
I believe it.
That's so funny. It's so true, though.
I mean, the winner wouldn't be the 7 seed, though.
No.
He's saying the number 2.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The number 2 seed plays the 7 seed, and the South winner's not going to be the 7 seed.
Yeah, they'll be the 4th seed no matter what. So,
right.
Yeah, get your shit together, Joel. Quit worrying about my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a vet and seeing ghost. Kirk change. Give me some change back.
Yeah,
$90 million is what they're paying him this year. $90 million.
I said I need to go back. I want to now go back and watch that play, Josh, with that pistol thing in mind, because I do want to go back and see if that affected it.
$180 million
chains. Love it. The South winner will be the 4th seed.
Oh, he meant the number 2 seed in the NFC North. Now I understand. Okay. Yes.
It makes more sense now. All right.
You got to be, listen, Joel, you know this with these 2 and me.
Yeah. That's way too much figuring out this early in the morning.
To math this early in the morning.
I've only had 1 bit of caffeine today.
Let's get into tonight's game. Sign up with code WOFF over there on Underdog. Claim your free pick. Your first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Again, sign up with WOFF. Claim your free pick and your first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The Monday night game is Cleveland at Denver. Spread of 5.5 in favor of Denver. Over under a 41.5 over there on ESPN Bet. We went 0-3 last week, fellas.
It was
ugly. It was ugly. Not great.
No, not what we were aiming for.
No, I don't know. So we're going to change it up this week, and we're going to go 3-0.
Let's do it.
Let's put it out there in the atmosphere, manifest it, whatever. Josh,
I cannot believe Javonte Williams is that high. I just read Josh's stat because he was the last one to get his in.
Yes.
This is crazy. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry. I just read it. So.
Javonte Williams lower than 56.5 rushing and receiving yards. I find it interesting, though. Yes, he has only hit this twice in the last 4 weeks, but it's literally been hit, miss, hit, miss. So this week feels like a hit, but I'm hanging on to the fact that I suggested to a friend who was starting Javonte Williams over Tony Pollard, and I said, you need to be starting Tony Pollard over Javonte Williams. Obviously, Pollard didn't have the best day, but she was also like, if Javonte Williams scores over 7, I'm going to fucking kill you.
I'm going to murder you.
And I'm like, girl, you're going to win no matter what. But you know what? So be it. Whatever.
Yeah. I like it.
This just very much feels like Audric Estime week is just going to like run over all of them. But I don't know. Whatever. We'll see.
I had this
hard to
dilemma in
bet
Scott
on
Fishbowl.
Javonte Williams at this point.
Yeah, I had the dilemma in Scott Fishbowl whether I was going to start Javonte Williams or whether I was going to start Jawan Jennings. And I went ahead and said, fuck it, I'm just going to start Jawan Jennings and pray that I get, a touchdown or whatever.
I started fucking Roshan Johnson over Javonte Williams, and it's going to actually kill me because he got hurt before he scored a fantasy point. So.
And Josh knows this. I was very high on Javonte Williams this year, thinking that this was going to be the year.
Oh, me too. Josh yells at me every year because I'm way too high on him, and Josh actually liked him this year.
Yeah. Well, we should have known that it was fucked up when Josh said I like him.
That's fair.
We should have known it right then. Ryan, 5-9. You got a little bit of room to make up here, but that's okay.
I'm technically giving you 2 this week, so we'll see if I can get them both to go. And the second one's hilarious.
I see what you're doing. You're trying to catch Josh.
I have to. But let's go ahead and bet on the league MVP, Bo Nix, to throw 2 touchdowns higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns, which actually gets you a little bit of a bump. It's 1.07 times your money. The Browns have actually given up 2 touchdowns in 5 of their last 6 games. Bo Nix is balling. I see no reason they don't have much of a running game. I think Bo Nix goes off tonight, and I think it's going to be a great Cortland Sutton game. But I did find this hilarious because I was like, well, what are they doing for Jerry Jeudy in this revenge game? Because obviously Denver has been very good against the receiver. I've never seen this before. I'm going to guess it's going to be fixed. It might be fixed already. Jerry Jeudy's rushing and receiving combined yardage over under is 57.5. His receiving by itself is 59.5. So they are projecting Jerry Jeudy for -2 rushing yards tonight. So I went ahead and threw some money on the 57.5 to get my Browns player into our parlay here. So.
Good for you.
I saw somebody say that, take the under on Jeudy because he's going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain. I don't think that's going to be the case. Surtain kind of lines up on the X, and that's not Jeudy.
I wish Tillman was playing, and I would feel a lot better about Jeudy. But with Tillman out,
I agree with that. Honestly, I think the guy to have this week is Elijah Moore.
Yeah,
I think Elijah Moore becomes the big target.
I got you covered. And Ryan, the answer to your question is yes, they have fixed it. It is 59.5 for both.
Okay, so well, that's still even more interesting because the Browns aren't afraid to run their wide receivers. So.
If you like the 59.5
at the bowl
receiving. Just go take the 59.5 rushing and receiving. Because if he does get,
I wonder if they'll void my bet because it was so clearly okay. No. I say it was so clearly a mistake.
If you get it and it's a mistake on their part, boom, they'll take it. Yeah. My guy this week, and Ryan just brought him up. It's Cortland Sutton, higher than 5.5 receptions. You're getting a little boost on this at 1.05. I'm surprised. I looked at it Friday afternoon and it has not changed at all. I kept looking to change it if I had to.
Wow.
So it never changed to at 5.5. Across the last 5 weeks, Sutton has averaged 9.5 targets. His lowest was 8. The number on that is 8.5 is what the line is. 7.2 receptions. Again, the line is 5.5. The lowest he's had in the last 5 weeks, 6.
Wow.
93.4 receiving yards, again, is what he's averaging. 62.5 is what the line is. His lowest is 70. 20.78 fantasy points is what he's averaging. The line on Underdog is 11.5. 16.3 is the lowest.
Yeah.
Now, I say all that to remind you that in that 5-game stretch, he had games against Baltimore, which wasn't, not the hugest defensive game, but also KC was involved in that 5-game stretch too. So he has played some decent defenses. I love that. Now, going over to Jerry Jeudy. I love Jerry Jeudy this week. 56.5 seems a little low to me. 4 straight games he's hit over this. Averaging 9 targets a game with Jameis Winston. Cedric Tillman, of course, like you said, is out. But Jeudy moves to the slot 33% of the time. He probably will not see Patrick Surtain.
I say that takes him away from Surtain. Yep.
So don't let that sweat you. And Jameis, I don't care how many times he throws the ball, 75, 80 times. He's going to be targeting Jeudy probably 50% of the time.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, I don't mind the Jerry Jeudy one. If you want to jump on that as well.
Well, for Underdog, you have to pick one from the other team. So just keep that in mind. So that's why I threw it in there. Yep. Because we all went Broncos.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. If you wanted to take the 3 here, then go add Jeudy. I mean, you can add Nick Chubb, 61.5 rushing. I think he's going to go under that as well.
Yeah, I like that too.
Denver's defense is very, very good. Jameis Winston, more than 21.5 passing attempts. Or completions, rather.
Oh my God! I thought it was attempts.
Like 21.5.
I will put the rest of my money on there right now.
But that is not even a 35.5 is what his line is for attempts.
I don't know. Last time I went his attempts, it bit me in the ass because
Joel has a good one. Broncos blitz a ton. Take the over on a Jameis pick. So
yeah, there you go. It's at a half. So and you slinging, and if you can go get Jameis throwing a pick and Surtain getting a pick.
Ooh, I bet that's a good parlay.
There you go. All right. Anything else you guys want to add for tonight?
Nah, we had not for tonight, but we had something from Tron on here, which I think is one of those things we should talk about for fantasy in general.
Tron says our trade line was November 30th, so that was 3 days ago. 2 teams executed a trade involving CMC, Jennings for Cook and Devontae Smith. I'm imagining that's James Cook. The trade process is tomorrow. So evidently did this right after the Thursday games or right after the Friday game. So, of course, it won't process until the week is over. The team getting CMC is asking for the league to veto.
Nope.
I think we're all going to be in agreement here that that's a no. As soon as the trade is accepted, that's why I don't like the process time.
Exactly. Process time is dumb. Get rid of vetoes. If you're going to have a veto, give it to the commissioner. Trust your commissioner. Give it to the commissioner and let them make a decision immediately if it was collusion or not. If it was not collusion, you process the trade. Plain and simple. This was a fair.
I understand why it wasn't processed because most of these guys were playing Monday, late Sunday, whatever it may be. But still, it should have been able to go through right when the trade was accepted, and all parties would have been able to play those players in their respective lineups. But again, sometimes the way that trades work, once games start for that week, then
it depends on the site you're playing on.
Correct. Yeah. So, that I think will play into why maybe it wasn't being processed until after the game's play. But no, this is basically just one manager crying foul because of bad luck, right?
Because he bought an injured fucking running back before a game had kicked off. He deserves all the bad things that happened.
But even then, the CMC manager is getting back somebody who hasn't played in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever, Devonta Smith, right? So, this really isn't that different in that perspective. So, I don't, CMC is probably going to be done for the year. Does that suck? 100% it sucks. But if you're the one getting CMC and you're getting screwed, guess what? The person that would have to keep CMC in this trade is getting screwed as well. So at the end of the day, somebody's getting screwed. It's just bad luck that you're the one getting screwed. So stop being a bitch about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was agreed on, done, over with.
Exactly.
And again, go on what to Josh's point, getting why it's not processed. Even if it's processed, I've done trades in the middle of a
game
weekend, and it tells me I still get the points for a Keenan Allen that I traded, right?
Yep.
But it's off my roster.
It says no longer on roster.
Yeah, I still get the points. Now that's on Sleeper. I understand what you're saying about other sites or whatever you're playing on.
Yeah, Yahoo is real finicky about these kind of trades when I used to play on Yahoo. So
yeah, that's an auto. The trade's done. It's agreed on by both parties. The whole league has seen it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
no questions.
He wasn't mad until 9 o'clock last night. So.
Yeah, he was mad as soon as Kyle Shanahan spoke. Was honest with everybody coming out of the half.
Yeah, which is a first for Kyle Shanahan.
Exactly. That's why it was surprising.
Yeah.
Don't forget to check out tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Wiretap with Ryan and Josh. That is the Waiver Wire show. Ryan will also have his Waiver Wire article coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Trade Block with Dusty, Joel, and Nahuv. That is the Dynasty Trade Show. Wednesday, 8 p.m., Cleat Dreams, the weekly Women of Fantasy Football podcast with Kelly and Renee. Directly after that at 9 p.m., no pun intended, the flagship show with Josh, Ryan, and Joe. Then Thursday morning, Oh Captain, My Captain with Josh and Austin breaking down Thursday night's DFS preview. Thursday night, the Sneaky Flex Girl who have been on an absolute heater and hashtag nailing it. Macy and Rowan get together with Wendy and give you their Women of Fantasy Football Start Sit show there, then Sneaky Flex Girls. Thursday night after that, Joel and I will get together for the Dynasty After Party, our Dynasty show. Wednesday morning, DFS Academy with Ryan and Austin, going through the DFS cash game and GPP preview for the weekend. And then start sit different day, Saturday morning with Josh and Joe, answering all of your start sit questions. And then, of course, again, back with us Monday morning, 11 a.m. It is Monday's Hangxiety, where we will recap week 14 and get you ready for your fantasy playoffs and hopefully, those fantasy championships. For Ryan, for Josh, I am Gator. We are out. We will see you